Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Science, Planets, and Stellar Rhythms. Erik Roth here, shamanic alchemical astrologer, to talk about the some astrological events and happenings that are taking place for all of us. We're going to review the upcoming month of June as we get into this. But there's definitely like a lot taking place in the field and the aftermath of all that has already gone on over the last several months. So let's really dive into that. And just a couple of quick things. I am going to be making a Saturn in Aries video, a little bit overdue because of some traveling that I've been doing to Maui and other parts of the West. Um, and then I'll be also making a specific Saturn-Neptune combination conjunction video, which a lot of astrologers are talking about. So we're gonna, add to the sort of the expression of all of this to so that more and more people can know about why this is such a, strongly important. Uh, this is such a strongly important event for humanity. The Saturn Neptune. We haven't had a conjunction like this since 1989. And it was in the sign of Capricorn as opposed to now going to be in the sign of Aries. And really, we're starting to really get into the thick of it, especially as we get into the month of June 2025. All right, so let's get into this more. Okay, June 2025. This is the Astrological Outlook, episode 68 of Science, Planets, and Stellar Rhythms. All right, let's get into what this month is about. There's a great deal happening, and we're going to review the major events taking place. Obviously, with every month, there's a lot of uh, lower tier stuff, but still important stuff that are taking place. I won't be able to cover all of that, but just the major things that are taking place here. Okay. So let's see what the major things are going on, the highlights of the episode and of the month of June. So there is we'll do a summary. Venus is going to be moving into the sign of Taurus after spending a lot of period in the signs of Pisces and Aries. Jupiter, big thing coming into in the sign of Cancer on June 9th. Jupiter Saturn square and Jupiter Neptune square also in the middle of the month of June. The building up of the Saturn-Neptune alignment, which again, we'll be making a separate video about that, but I wanted to mention it as far as the highlights, and I'll be weaving that into the discussion about the Saturn square to Jupiter and the Jupiter and the Neptune square to Jupiter as well. Mars is in Virgo, so this will be the first time that's in Virgo for a couple of years. It spent a lot of time in the signs of Cancer and Leo. So that's a new energy that's being introduced this month. And of course, always covering the full and new moon and the sun moving into Cancer and the solstice, the June solstice point. There's also this month a Jupiter Sun conjunction and a Uranus Sun conjunction, which will take place. All right. So yeah, this overview of June begins the month where both Saturn and Neptune are in the sign of Aries. So for an entire month, so in May, Saturn moved into Aries on the 24th of May. Back in March, on March 30th, Neptune moved into Aries. And then during this month of June, Jupiter will join them in the cardinal sign or the householder slash culture bearer sign in shamanic astrology. But for most people, they know it as cardinal sign. On June 9th, Jupiter moves into Aries, sorry, Cancer. It moves into Cancer, then squares both Saturn and Neptune. Saturn first on the 15th, and then Neptune on the 18th. Venus will ingress into the sign of Taurus. This promises a stronger level expression of the feminine in its home sign, where beauty, sensuality, and receiving the bounties of Earth open up. Solstice comes up on the 20th of June, as the sun squares both Saturn and Neptune this month, and also conjuncting Jupiter too during this month. A Sagittarius full moon shows up on the 11th, followed by a Cancer new moon on the 25th. Just as another separate piece of an awareness, there will be an uploaded video about the Sagittarius full moon on my channel. You can currently find it on the My Star Alchemy channel and Kaylin Castell's channel. Kaylin Castell and I do these every month. We talk about the full moon. And in this month, it's going to be about Sagittarius, and there's the alignment with the galactic center and the great attractor in the sign of Sagittarius. So there's a lot of discussion about that and a special formation that's going on with the June. I will cover part of it with the full moon here, just a small part, but the all the major details are going to be in the as far as the full moon goes in the Kaylin Castell, Erik Roth combination about the full moon. All right, so let's start with Venus and Taurus, since this is the first really big thing that's taking place in June. So Venus started out the month in conjunction with Eris at 2531 Aries and Chiron 2544, both on June 1st. So that's a big conjunction period that took place on June 1st as that launches us 3 days later into Taurus. And then ingresses into Taurus after spending again inordinate amount of months in the signs of Aries and Pisces. As I mentioned before, it's a stronger level expression of the feminine because Taurus is typically associated with the sign with the planet of Venus. In traditional astrology, Venus rules Taurus and Venus rules Libra. In shamanic astrology, it's more about a resonance of the sign of Taurus with Venus. Now, on June 9th, Venus will square Pluto at 331 Taurus and Pluto at Aquarius. And Venus will stay in the sign of Taurus until July 4th, 2025. So just a month it stays in there. It'll get a little bit faster later on the year, where it'll spend about 3.5 weeks or so in per sign. So it'll be less than a month for the following signs: Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and so forth. So this is helps out, I think, when we start to get planets moving beyond where the signs they were in for a lot of months. It kind of helps to really shift the energy and change the dynamic of things. So it kind of brings us that new spatial expression archetypally in various different signs, like Mars moving into Virgo this month and Jupiter moving into Cancer. A lot of Earth energy and energy around like nurturement and you know, protecting and a sense of like order in the world, if you will. So again, some of that is coming through in the month of June that I think, could be really, really helpful. Okay, Mercury, of course, is the fastest regular planet in the sky that moves through signs about every 3 weeks at its fastest clip, sometimes a little bit less every 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. And in this case, Mercury will move into the sign of Cancer and Leo. It's currently in the first 7 days, it's in the sign of Gemini, and then moves into Cancer the day before uh, Jupiter moves into Cancer. And then there's a Mercury Jupiter conjunction as well on the or say, oh yeah, just before it moves into just before Jupiter moves into the sign of Cancer. So the moon is the only thing that moves faster than Mercury. The moon takes 2.5 days to move through a sign, and Mercury can take roughly 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the fastest point that it's operating at. So before Mercury enters into Cancer on June 8th, we experience a conjunction between Mercury and Jupiter at 2945 Cancer. Actually, that should be 2945 Gemini. My apologies on that. Then on June 9th, Mercury squares Saturn at 0059 Cancer slash Aries, Saturn and Aries, and then Neptune also on that same day. It squares Neptune. So we have Jupiter moving into Cancer on June 9th. It squares Saturn on June 9th, and it squares Neptune on June 9th. So this is, I think that this middle period between June 8th and June 18th is a really powerful period. And then one can even extend it to the 22nd of June because then we've got the sun moving into Cancer. We've got the sun squaring Saturn and Neptune as well, 20th, 21st, and 22nd, right in that zone. So some really big energies happening at that time. Mercury in Cancer expresses the mind through the heart of compassion, nurturement, a sense of family, and potential inclusiveness as part of the greater evolution. So it's this really initiating our perception in what we're seeing around us and not necessarily like going back into the shadow of like, oh, well, we need to be more insulated here and isolated. Instead, where there's that potential for more inclusiveness and bringing people together around the world. Then on June 26th, Mercury will enter Leo, opening the energies of fire once again with a brighter intuitive visionary expression. Mercury's new fire will trine Saturn, Neptune, as well as squaring Pluto and Aquarius. So Mercury continues to have the strong relationship with Saturn, Neptune throughout this month, and as well as connecting in with Pluto. Then on June 9th, as I mentioned earlier, there is a ingress of Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. Jupiter spends always roughly about a year in each sign. Um, it can be as much as 13 months at its maximum. You can see here June 2013 to July 2014. That's roughly about 13 months and back in the last time that it was in the sign of Cancer. Uh, Jupiter will be in Cancer from June 9th, 2025 until June 29, 2026. So that's 12 months and about 3 weeks that it spends. So, roughly 13 months. And again, this whole Jupiter ingress um, is going to be hitting a lot of these things I've been talking about, squaring uh, the planets of Saturn and Neptune, conjuncting the sun shortly after the sun moves into Cancer later on in June. So the meaning of Jupiter in Cancer comes through the sort of this greater human collective as an experiential spiritual pathway that highlights the expression of expansion, I should say, of compassion and nurturing qualities. While it can also lead to more polarization through nativism and tribalism, or even we could say nationalism as well. It is about the larger field of expanding Cancer to a global family tribe rather than a local or bloodline or nationalistic family. So this is really, I think this incarnation of Jupiter in Cancer is intended to really help us go beyond. Again, but there can still be this counter reaction of the Jupiter in Cancer where those certain counter-reactive forces will try to be more insulated and try to spread that certain level of fear, going, no, we need to be afraid of those that are outside either the bloodline, the family, or the sort of that limited vision of what a particular country or culture can be. So that's one of the dangers of the Jupiter in Cancer. But ideally, it's more about expanding that definition of however we define family and community out there in the world and culture. So here's the day, and it's definitely a special day. So I've got this listed here, as you can see here, June 9th, Jupiter in Cancer. You can see it right there. It's coming in. This is at 0001. We could see Mercury only 2 degrees away. So, and then that squares, you can see I've got the square to Neptune on that day between Mercury and Neptune. And then Jupiter's going to be 6 days later, it'll square Saturn. So we're now really in the thick of the period that I've been talking about between June 8th through about the 22nd. of Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, Jupiter, and then even Sun, Saturn, Sun, Neptune, and Sun, Jupiter as well. So we get all these players all kind of connected in, creating the potential for some significant shifts, changes, and tension and challenges in the world. So something to really pay attention to. What's really fascinating about this is that there's also a trine to the moon at that time between Neptune, Saturn, and the moon. And then there is let's see, yeah, that's a trine. But then there's an inconjunction between the moon and Mercury and Jupiter, and that's creates kind of like a disconnection between expanding out into the world, exploring new territory and the insulation of, humanity. This is where that's again, some of the danger can come in is insulating ourselves too much and not allowing anything else in. Has certainly been a really powerful reactive force that's been happening in recent months. Um, and actually one could even go back years and look at the sort of the track record of that sort of that nativism and tribalism type of energy, where it's like too insulating, too insular, and instead, where in order for us to really, as humanity, to really grow and expand, is to diversify, explore and bring in new culture, new ideas, and open that territory up. I mean, sure, there are times to conserve and to our energies and to grow what we need to grow, but that can only lead to in the long term self-destruction and stagnation and decay. In order to really grow, it's diversification and expansion into other areas, other kinds of knowledge as well, other techniques and wisdom and culture. All right, then we move into a Sagittarius full moon on June 11th, 2025. This happens at 2039 Sag. And you can see here, I've got this outline here, and it squares the lunar nodes. Like there's a really particular thing. I mean, I don't have it shown here, but it does form a kite formation where the moon becomes sort of that centerpiece of the kite, where it kind of where you might say the string and the base of the kite is. So the moon is like the supportive mechanism of this kite formation, and you don't really get to see it too often, especially with an opposition also involved in that, where there's like a really strong energy where it connects all the not just the Grand Cross, which this represents, but the actual like the trine and the sextile and the trine to here, trine to there, to Mars and to Saturn, Neptune, as well as the opposition with the nodes. So all the players are coming in here, and this full moon is part of this greater magnification between June 8th and 22nd of these rapidly changing things that are happening in humanity. So this could be a really, at the times, a volatile expression for humanity, but at other times it could actually help us focus on what we need and where the problems lie and what we can address, the issues that we can address in this time at this time. So I can see this being beneficial, but I do feel like there'll definitely be some volatility and some challenge, but sort of the rise, I think humanity at some times will rise to the occasion, be able to address and really point out and highlight the issues that are really needed, and not just something trivial or something made up, but something real, something where we can really connect in. But keep in mind, you've got a Gemini sun, so there might be some a little bit of a trickster type of energy in here where it's like look at this over here, and then we're doing something else over there. So yeah, something to be careful of as we go through that. All right, so we're going to look at the Sabian symbol of the full moon. Something I also talk about in the full moon video. A child and dog wearing borrowed side glasses. This has to do with like really interpretation that can be expressed as like a seriousness of life, but with a strong creative expression through that seriousness. Sometimes it's just about having fun in the midst of intensity to help balance it out, because the hard reality is really stepping in. And at times we can have those breakout situations where we can have that laughter. We can have laughter as the medicine. We can see the deeper realization beyond where we are, and that we might have this at times limited vision. So I write here, it is the same creative energy that presents an opportunity to see beyond any current fixed or limited vision. So the galactic center and the great attractor energy that is involved in this full moon as well, it shows the importance and the magnification of our time. And the full moon being right in near the beginning stages of this really epic period in June, from June 8th to June 22nd, is really really going to be an eye opener, I think, for humanity. So it's a chance for us to put on our the glasses that we need to both smile and have fun, but also to perceive the world beyond where our limited vision might be. Because we can get caught up in a race, we can get caught up in our mundane life and our normal routine, and once in a while we just need to put on our, symbolically, if you will, sunglasses or something else that helps us see beyond where we are. And as a regular note, the full moon takes place at 12:44 a.m. Pacific on June 11th. That would be 3:44 a.m. Eastern time. So something to keep in mind on Hawaii, it would be June late at night and June 10th. So most of the world will experience it on the 11th. Okay, June 15th. This is one of the more important dates, and in the middle of that epic period of time with um, Saturn, Neptune, Sun, Jupiter. Mercury was involved in the beginning stages there. The full moon. We're really connecting into this the power of all these alignments here. So June 15th, Saturn squares Jupiter, but it's also when Saturn officially gets within 1 degree of Neptune. So we're involved now. This square happens at 118 Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer, and 118 Aries, Saturn in Aries. And I'll let's get into what more of the meaning of this Saturn Neptune and particularly Jupiter Saturn square, if we can throw in a little bit of Neptune into this too. I did make a whole separate video of Saturn Jupiter squares and what that means, and how we're moving. This is the last of three Saturn Neptune squares. There was two of them in sorry, not Saturn Neptune, Saturn Jupiter squares. There was two of them in 2024, and a third one here on June 15th, 2025. So the themes of this: illusions of idealisms and new technologies, confusion and polarization of structure and systems we surround ourselves with. This can be amplified during this time. Times of greater tension and stresses around what we believe in our current reality. Also, more expression and expansion of entertainment and creative processes, as well as continued attempts at uncertainty to regulate and enact laws around drugs, either by removing restrictions and or working with them constructively. So these are some of the major themes. And now that Jupiter has moved into Cancer by this point, and Saturn into Aries, there's going to be a little bit of a reframing in particularly around polarization and the systems and structures, and what are our responsibilities around that. But again, it's not to get caught up in that set where we need to be fixed in ourselves, because the squares are about, especially post square, it's about the release of that energy into the trine. And so this is that process that's happening. And it's like, hey, trines are more about the flow of energy and allowing things to come in together. The tension does create sort of a sense of like butting of heads and words and sometimes strong reactive forces. but it's moving us toward a more flowy type of energy where we can really connect into the current that we need to work with to the support of all of humanity, including our individual selves. Or at least that's the idea. So the original seed by this was in 2020, December 2020 into early 2021 when Saturn and Jupiter conjuncted in at 0 degrees Aquarius. So that was the seed point, and that's what's really helping to carry on this energy. How is that innovative, new, freedom-loving desires, um, experimentation, and even egalitarian seeds that was planted there? Like, are we going to help humanity and help the earth? How is that going to go with, and these squares create a lot of tension and restrictions, but also growth through limits and boundaries. And then when we move from that square to the trine, that's when that sort of that flow of energy can really show up for us. So more to come in the dialogue around Saturn and Jupiter. So here are the dates of the last two Saturn squares, August 19th, 2024, and December 24, 2024. And now here we are, June 15th, 2025. Then we reach that middle ground. The trines are going to be somewhere in about a year or two, 2026, 2027, that zone. Jupiter Saturn oppositions will be in 20 between, there'll be six of them. This is going to be a really powerful expression, I think, of that. The halfway point that started all the way back in December of 2020. So Jupiter Saturn oppositions between 2029 and 2031 in Taurus, Scorpio, and Gemini, Sagittarius. Sorry, that would be Jupiter in Sagittarius and Saturn in Gemini. All right. Mars moves into Virgo, June 9th, June 17th, 2025. After spending many months in the sign of Cancers, in the signs of Cancer and Leo, the red planet ingresses into the sign of Virgo on June 17 and staying until August 6th of 2025. So just under 2 months. And it's progressively going to get a little bit faster and ultimately going to be about roughly 5 to 6 weeks that Mars will spend per sign. Mars in Virgo celebrates the sacred sovereignty of the goddesses within us. It is a co-creative and sacred work devoted to an overarching mission within and without. Mars does symbolize the masculine and the action force, expresses its energy to cultivate from the greater patterns and details around us, to be of service to what is in harmony with humanity and the universe, including Gaia. Mars will sextile Jupiter on June 22nd and also the Sun on June 26th. These will be periods of time to watch out for. So, especially that June 22nd there, which is part of the overarching theme, major theme of all these planets and their alignments together between June 8th and the 22nd of June with what do we call it? Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, Jupiter, the Sun, all kind of interconnecting with each other during that time. And now Mars will get involved in this towards the latter end of June there. And then the Sun moves into Cancer June 20th, moves into a new sign every month. And this is the June solstice point, the zero Cancer point. It's the season of Cancer, and combined with Jupiter in Cancer, it really opens the floodgates for a more expansive connection with family, responsibilities, giving, providing safe space, and nurturing energy from the heart. Sun's transit into Cancer marks the northernmost point from the ecliptic of sunrise sunset. In the northern hemisphere, it is summer, and the southern hemisphere, it's winter. Nearly 90% of Earth's population does live north of the equator, so most people will experience the longer days. Sometimes they're just slighter, especially if you're really close to the equator. And then the opposite will happen in the southern hemisphere, where you're experiencing the minimal light. In this season of Cancer, we can reach out with family to co-create, which is not just blood family, but soul family, spiritual family, and community. and to go create, share, and care for one another. That's the intent of really what Sun in Cancer is about. And at the same time, creating safe space for all of that to happen. Okay, then we have, oh wait, that's Sun, sorry, not Sun Uranus. That because that is as we move into that, that's from the previous month. It's something when I put together slides, I was trying to make commentary around this, and we can see how uh, some of the things that happened. This was actually at the time where Biden was diagnosed with prostate cancer. That at least it was made public that time, and then there was the really talk about an unexpected thing. A Navy ship from Mexico was in New York, the New York area, and hit the Brooklyn Bridge. And right around this time, within a day or so of this Uranus Sun conjunction. But this was and kind of an after look at that because it was such in my mind. I wanted to keep this, but I also realized it might be a little confusing keeping this conjunction there. But just know that there is a Jupiter Sun conjunction this month, and Uranus Sun conjunction happened previously. Okay. So, Cancer new moon, June 25th. Did I? Oh, I know. I talked about the solstice. Okay. June 25th, 2025, safe space expansion. So this is at 4 degrees Cancer, and it's at 3:31 a.m. Pacific. I've got a saving symbol to describe this, but you can see here there's a square that this is part of, like I mentioned June 22nd, but there's still this after effect of that, and the new moon is kind of the last wall or the last really bit. If we can kind of extend it to the 25th, that would work also, based on all the energies that really start to get loaded in for June on June 8th. And then this new moon, this is at 4 degrees Cancer. Um, and the Sabian symbol is the one. We always add one to that, becomes 5 Cancer. At a railroad crossing, an automobile is struck by a train. That's the symbol for what Linda Hill writes in her The Saving Oracle, 360 Degrees of Wisdom. So, you know, keywords, not looking to the consequences of actions, recklessly going for an objective, no consideration or considering ramifications, lots of people causing problems with scheduling. I also write in a little bit. She writes cars and trains. I also write in and transportation issues. I added that in because it does deal with kind of networks connecting, transportation, all of that. Crossroads, of course, the need for good timing, individual rights, like being able to choose and ignore rules at your own peril, and rebelling against those rules. Now, I write here, this can also be interpreted for the need to pay attention to our actions and decisions. Are we talking, are we taking reckless chances or simply not caring? Is it about unexpected failures beyond our control? Have we planned in a way that supports our life goals and protects ourselves and family? So even though this might be just an incident or just one thing that's happening, it can have the sort of the consequences of like having ripples throughout our life. So, I mean, we could lose our car, or maybe we witness something like this. This could be also for society. Are we planning ahead, or are we just running something just based on our purely on instinct without any logic or rationality, without using the entirety of who we are? So that's where it can cause a lot of chaos, and it's happening now in the world. And so this new moon, I think, is a reflection of that. And I think the lesson here, if we want to call it that, is, hey, are we creating safe space, and are we planning a little bit ahead while still trusting our intuitive and instinctual energies? That's part of that kind of that combination, and we can all take advantage of that. Some more than others, where there's more energy into the instinct, intuition, and others more into the logic and rationality and understanding of the patterns. and then some have a more on that greater mix. So this is really the symbolic of all of that. And what do we want to do about this, right? Um, June is a pretty volatile month, and if I extend that block of time from June 8th to the 22nd, all the way to the 25th, it would really complete this month really, really strongly. And you can see here um, all of this happening right here. Let's see, do I have, yeah. So in May 17th was the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Now we've got Mars in Virgo 1 month later in there. But you could see the full they've got two major periods. This period here between the 8th and 11th, and then the 15th through the 25th, 26th. That's really like, and then combined, I would, as an astrologer, I would just say, look out for this whole period here from June 8th all the way to 26th or 25th. That's going to be the big one. But then the concentrated one, we've got and I don't list yeah, okay, Sun Jupiter conjunction 24th. So we're getting like right into that zone right in there where all of that happens. And this is up to us to work with it and react to it in a way that is healthy for us. But some of this, can be beyond our control, especially with a lot happening at once. Um, so something to keep in mind. I'll be posting this chronology just separately on its own a couple of times in the month of June so people can get a greater idea and a helpful little cheat sheet about what's going on throughout the month. Um, so yeah, just to reconnect, I left I didn't realize I left the Uranus Sun conjunction in there, but I realized also as I did that because what's been on my mind in that middle of May period when we did have the Sun Uranus conjunction and all those like a series of events happening with Biden and his cancer diagnosis, and then the book that came out that showed like his mental decline, and then the Mexican Navy and the catastrophic collision with the bridge where a couple of sailors died and dozens were injured. This is, you don't, I mean, you expect some things to happen in society, but you never know when. And Uranus is definitely a very unexpected planet. So I'm glad that I actually, now that in hindsight, that I left it in here because I was able to talk about that in hindsight there. So, and one other thing to talk about before I wrap up here. Moon Mars conjunction twice in the month of June. That doesn't happen all that often. So on June 1st and June 30th, these Mars Moon conjunctions happen every month, but for them to happen 2 times in the same month is pretty rare. So, and then in the middle of the month on the 21st, as part of that collection, we have the Moon Venus conjunction, and as part of the descent of Inanna story and the Venus cycle. And so she's, having in May was the first gate. This is the second gate. So she's now still, letting go of her powers and on her way towards the end of the year uh, to surrender to the underworld. Okay, so more to come. Watch out for the Saturn Aries video. I'm also going to post the full moon in Sagittarius video on my channel. It'll already be on the My Star Alchemy channel along with Kaylin Castell's channel. And then I'm going to do a Saturn Neptune conjunction video in the month of June before the big July event and February 2026 event takes place, July 2025 and February 2026. So something to keep in mind as all of this stuff is happening. Big month, big thing happening, lots of stuff. So I wish you all to take care out there in the world. Please like and subscribe if you do this channel, and share it if you feel like someone could benefit from this information. There's other astrologers also that I follow, and it's the voices that come out there that we all share and have a variety. that gives us additional insights about what's really going on here. So I encourage you all to kind of broaden your brush of astrology out there and see what else other people are saying that might kind of give you some additional truths and insights into your own life, as well as out there in the world. You can find me at spiralnexus.com as well as mystaralchemy.com. And you can write to me at inspiralnexus@gmail.com for any questions. I do this for a living. I professional astrologer, give readings to everybody, anybody that wants one. And I travel around the west coast of the U.S. and recently went to Maui. And so I'm able to travel and do things. And if you want to host me, and if there's a number of readings that I can do for friends and family out there where you are, feel free to contact me, and we can coordinate something around that. But I look forward to seeing you again in the near future with more videos, and to take care, and happy June solstice and beyond.